Hare Krishna, Jai Shila Prabhupada. So 2.7. Oh, 1 second. Hold on, just hold on. Avinashi tu tadvidhi ena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartumarhati. Krishna here continues to explain about the importance of spirit soul, which is indestructible, as against the matter, which is destructible. In the previous verse, he has explained how these two natures, Sat and Asat. Sat means the spiritual energy, spiritual nature, which is indestructible. There is no change. Nobody is able to destroy it. And whereas the material nature, material energy, Asat, there is no endurance. So there is no need for lamentation. So here Krishna explains, so the same spirit soul, that Sat, Avinashi. Avinashi means it cannot be destroyed. Avinashi tu tat vidhi. Please know, O Arjuna, that soul cannot be destroyed. And what is the characteristic of that soul? Yena sarvamidam tatam. That soul pervades the entire body. So here there is an interesting twist the impersonalists make, where they say sarvamidam tatam. Sarvamidam tatam refers to pervading everywhere. But according to our acharyas, according to the flow of Bhagavad Gita, sarvam idam tatam means pervaded in the body. It doesn't refer to pervaded everywhere. So they want to prove that the individual soul is also God. And when we become liberated, we become one with God. But throughout in the last few verses, we had seen how Krishna is specifying one's body being different from one's soul. So there is no point in suddenly shifting the target and specifying that, oh, that soul now pervades everything. No, that is referring to individual spirit soul in the individual body. So by the consciousness, the soul pervades throughout the body. Sarvam idam tatam. And vinasham avyayasya asya. And nobody is able to do it. Na kaschit kartum arhati. Arhati means he is able to do it. Kartum arhati. Na kaschit. Nobody is able to do it. What are they unable to do it? Vinasham of this imperishable soul, avyayasya. So Krishna is using two words, avinashi and avyayasya. Indestructible and imperishable. And nobody is able to destroy it. So just in case Arjuna is wondering, maybe I'll annihilate their existence by killing with the weapons. But Krishna is assuring, no, you don't need to worry because they are not going to be killed. Because the soul is avinashi. Nobody is able to nakaschit kartum arhasi. So that therefore Arjuna should not refrain from the war. And what is the different points here in the purport? It's a big purport. Plenty of interesting points, philosophical points Prabhupada makes. Basically, it's about the nature of the soul. More or less, we know many points that are mentioned here, like the symptom of the soul is consciousness, that it is spread all over the body. Just by experiencing the pain and pleasure, the pain and pleasure of the body is because the consciousness is spread all over the body. Just like one example you can give is, say you are driving a vehicle, you are driving your car. By your presence in the car's driving seat, you become aware of the whole car. If somebody comes and hits you at the back, even slightly, touches you. The car gets hit by somebody. Immediately you become aware. Because your awareness is spread throughout the car. Similar example. The consciousness, even though the soul is situated in the heart's region, by its consciousness, it is spread all over the body. And the other difference is, it is located only within one's body, the consciousness. We cannot perceive the pains and pleasures of another body. And then Prabhupada mentions the size of the soul, because it is mentioned Avinashi, means it cannot be destroyed. So there is a saying in the Upanishad, a couple of statements are quoted here. Balagra shatabhagasya shatadha kalpitasya cha. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Bhago jiva sabigneya sachanantyaya kalpate. So this is also a point which comes many times, and we are aware of this. If you take the upper point of a hair, which is very small, and we divide into 100 parts, and again such parts are divided into 100 parts, shatabhagasya shatadha kalpitasya. So that is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. In the Bhagavatam also the similar version is given. Keshagra shatabhagasya shatadha shatamsha sadrishatmakaha. So, but what does it mean? Does it mean because the material advancement, the microscope, is able to see objects which are atoms, which are subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, electrons, even which are lower than this, quarks, all these subatomic particles they are able to see. Does it mean 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair is even smaller than them? So what we need to understand here is, so basically, should we take it literally when we say 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, or should we just take it as metaphorically? Metaphorically means it is just indicating something. We should not take it literally, just to give a meaning, just to give some indication. So actually, we can take either literally or metaphorically, because when you take literally, it means it does have a size. It is not that impersonal. That is another point which the Upanishads are trying to drive home. The soul is not impersonal. It has a size. That is what is meant when it says 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. It does have size. Actually, in the spiritual world, the soul expands into a form. There is a spiritual form for the soul. And because there is a form, that is why the body is also given a form. Because we try to exhibit our form in the material world. Therefore, the matter expands on top of our spirit. So there is form in the spiritual world. There is size. And that size is said to be 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. But how can we measure the tip of the hair? We don't even know what is the size of the tip of the hair. It can already be so small. Just like the point, according to mathematics, there is no length or width or breadth for the point. So it is so small. So you cannot finding through microscope the invisibility of the soul to microscope is not because of it being smaller, but because of it being spiritual. Microscope is made of material elements. The substance of the spirit is made of spiritual elements. Satchidananda. So microscope cannot find it. So its nature is completely different. So we should not say, just because it is only 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, it can be easily found by the microscope. It could be found if it is material element. but it is spiritual. That is why it cannot be found. And metaphorically, what does it represent? 10,000th of the tip of the hair. It means it is so small that we cannot perceive it with our material senses, with our blunt material senses. That's what it means metaphorically. So that is how we should understand when the statements of Shastra seems to say it is 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. We should not go around, beat our chest. Oh, we can figure out the soul. That's not the purpose of those statements. The purpose of those statements is completely different. So that is another point mentioned here in the purport about the size of the soul. And Prabhupada gives some hints about how the soul can be perceived, even though it is so small. He says the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. So transcendentalists who know the art of raising themselves in spiritual consciousness can perceive by these perfect intelligence. It is said that an advanced devotee, he works on the spiritual platform. He actually knows his original swarupa in the spiritual world, and he always does service to the Lord like that. There are many pastimes of great acharyas when they were exhibiting their manifest pastimes in this material world with their body, but when they went to trance, they were serving Radha Krishna. Like it is said that one time Narottam Das Thakur, he was, by looking at the deities, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govind, Radha Gopinath, these are the three famous deities in Vrindavan, apart from many other deities. So one time he just went into ecstasy, and he was taking the form of a gopi, his original swarupa, and he was ordered by his seniors, gopi friends, that Radharani wanted milk preparation, and so the gopi was making it, and immediately the friends, they took it and gave it to Radharani, and immediately he was trying to touch it. He touched it, it burnt his finger, but still, because Radharani wanted quickly, he still gives it in that nice glass and he sends it with his friends, with her gopi friends. And then when he sees that, actually when he woke up from the dream, from that trance, his actual finger is burnt. So like that, there are many pastimes of previous acharyas mentioned in confidential scriptures, literature written by great devotees, that they work on their spiritual platform. So the soul can be perceived, but with perfect intelligence, not with puffed up material intelligence or advanced material instruments. And the other concept Prabhupada introduces here is how the soul is floating in 5 kinds of air. So what is the point here? So whether the soul is situated floating in 5 kinds of air, or is it in the region of the heart? So that is a confusion. So here this 5 kinds of air. So this is a concept used in pranayama. When they do pranayama, they try to put to use the theory of these life airs. So basically there are 5 life airs: prana, apana, vyana, samana and udana. And it is just to understand in a layman's term, we have all studied vectors, and vector points to one direction, and there could be another vector which points to another direction, and there could be another vector which points to another direction. And when all these vectors come together, the resultant equation balances out at certain point. So when a particular body has these 5 kinds of life air, 5 different kinds of vectors, when they balance out at a particular point, that is the place where that soul's consciousness exists. So even though the soul's location is situated in the region of the heart, but its consciousness varies based on the quality of these life airs. If the life airs are polluted, the consciousness is also polluted, because the soul is heavily influenced in the material atmosphere by the subtle and material elements. So the consciousness is lowered, or consciousness is perverted. That is why the pranayama process, Ashtanga Yoga process, involves purification of these life airs, so that the consciousness is gradually elevated. And when it is gradually elevated and comes to the top of the head, that is when the yogis, they choose a opportune moment to leave the body so they can transmit themselves to the spiritual world. But in 8th chapter, Krishna says, a devotee does not have to bother about all this. Oh, where the soul is situated, which life air is impure, how to make it pure, how to raise this consciousness from different chakras, Shat chakra, these 6 different chakras in the body, or the energy circles. These chakras are nothing but energy circles, where the energy flows from one point to the other. These are all different concepts used in Ashtanga Yoga, especially in pranayama, where people take a lot of struggle to raise their consciousness from different chakras to all the way to the top chakra. But a devotee does not need to bother. Naite shruti pardhajanan yogi muhyati kaschana tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna. So yogi doesn't need to bother about all this. Oh, when to pass away. Is this an opportune moment? Will I go back to Godhead? Or by accident will I leave my body? He doesn't need to, because he is always thinking about Krishna. So even in that sense, Krishna consciousness is supreme. So we don't need to rely on so much of material practice of understanding the theory about these chakras, life airs, and gradually raising and purification of life airs. It is automatically done in Krishna consciousness. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. How the purification happens? That happens by the service of the Lord, starting with the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these are all various points mentioned in the purport. So Prabhupada also gives a idea about how the modern science recognizes indirectly the presence of the soul, even though they don't admit the existence of the soul. But they say that heart is the seat of all energies of the body. But the Vedic literature clearly mentions that because the individual soul is present in the heart, along with the super soul, and therefore all the energies of the body are emanating from the heart. And whereas the modern science, it accepts that the importance of red corpuscles and the importance of the heart as the seat of all energies. But they cannot explain how miraculously that heart is functioning. Where is the source of energy for that heart? And suddenly a body dies, suddenly it stops functioning. How it stops functioning? So that part they cannot explain without embracing the concept of spirit soul. And of course, there is Vishnu Tattva, which is completely different from the spirit soul. There is a super soul also in addition to the spirit soul, which we should not mistake to be the one and the same. There is always distinct. The spirit soul is distinct from the super soul. So these are the various points. It's a long purport and a lot of technical points. Is there anything that we are missing? Any other point which needs explanation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned a very important point, like when the spirit soul is there, it has a form. Accordingly, you get a form.
Yeah.
So, but we get many forms over the past birth. Maybe in current form we are human form, in earlier form maybe in some other form.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, does spirit soul has only unique form, or it has a multiple form according to this 84 lakh varieties of very variegatedness?
Yeah, good question. So the spirit soul has desires. In the spiritual world, the spirit soul exhibits spiritual desires, and therefore it takes a spiritual body in a particular swarupa to render service to the Lord. It could be as a mother or a father or a friend or a lover or a servant. But when it comes to the material world, the desire is not curbed. There is still desire, but it is directed towards sense enjoyment. So based on the quality of the desire, you get a particular body which can satisfy your desire. That is why there are 8,400,000 species of life with different bodies meant for satisfying your different desires. So if you want to eat whatever and all filthy stuff, then there is a body of a hog which can satisfy that desire. Therefore, you will develop a hog's body. So like that, there are different species meant for satisfying different perverted desires of the spirit soul when he comes to the material world. That is why the transmigration, when at the point of death, based on your desires you have, the subtle body is formed like that, the mental body, and that eventually takes you to a manifested gross body. So to purify our subtle mind, subtle body, our thoughts is very important at the time of death. Based on our mental state, our body is formed in the next life. So we could take different bodies in each life. So when we think of Krishna, we go back to Krishna with a spiritual body, fit for rendering service to the Lord. Does that help?